Good day. Welcome to Ask Amy About Aging. I'm aging maven aficionado Amy K. Gaskin, and I am joined once again with Elaine, certified dementia practitioner and author of I Will Never Forget. Welcome back, Elaine. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me back.
Yes. So we are going to dispel some myths today because the differences between dementia and Alzheimer's are significant and different, and it's very hard to understand, especially when someone's first coming into some memory loss. So why don't you introduce yourself and how you got into this field, and then we'll go ahead and talk about and dispel some memory loss myths.
Okay, thank you. So I'm Elaine Pereira. I authored I Will Never Forget, which is my mother's journey through dementia, specifically Alzheimer's. And that's the subject of today.
Yeah.
This podcast is the difference, and there are differences. So she was a very accomplished woman until Alzheimer's took hold, which was not apparent initially. Alzheimer's is an insidious disease, and it can take some time before there's enough reliable and consistent issues that you're sure you're dealing with something that is of noteworthy.
Right.
So, yeah. So the dementia, in brief, is a cluster of symptoms. It can be memory loss, confusion, difficulty with judgment, and a whole cornucopia of related type topics. But it can come from many types of medical situations other than Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's is the biggest, but the other causes can be a urinary tract infection, which, if diagnosed and treated, often does wonders to clear up that confusion, agitation, and memory loss. That can be an indication of a stroke. It can be excess fluid on the brain. It's unusual in adults, but it does in older adults, but it does happen. Shunt can drain that away. It can be alcoholism, poor dehydration, a medication imbalance. There are many, many possible reasons that someone will exhibit dementia. Typically, in the ones other than Alzheimer's, the family won't see this really slow up and down kind of progression. It'll be a little bit brisker. And that makes sense if you're dealing with a medication imbalance or dehydration. Those
Right.
that come on causing this dementia, and if diagnosis and treated, can help really alleviate that. But moving on to the difference, Alzheimer's is a real neurological disease. And I still feel very strongly that most families and caregivers, not professional necessarily, but home caregivers, don't really understand that the changes they see in their loved one, which is unfortunately often a personality change that's unpleasant.
Right.
They're agitated, angry, irritable, is due to changes in the brain, not just grumpy old grandpa. So, that part is very hard, and we need to be accepting that this. So a good medical workup, neurological workup is very helpful. Alzheimer's is still kind of insidious and hard to diagnose. There are many reasons why all the tests may be inconclusive, but it still follows a pattern. And one of the key differences is misplacing your car keys again. Getting confused about which light switch goes with which lights again, or even for the first time, is part of a dementia and not necessarily part of Alzheimer's. The difference here that if you put out keys, someone with dementia, with Alzheimer's, may not know what they're for. So it is the usage that transcends making Alzheimer's and most dementias different. Someone with dementia shouldn't be driving, probably.
Right.
but they can look at a set of keys, and what they might say is, that might identify them, house keys, car keys, something like that. Someone with Alzheimer's, the best they may be able to do, and then they'll lose that skill, is put in car or door. It may be something that there's a little association, but they don't have the whole package. And as that advances, they won't even know what keys are for, whether it's
Right.
car and lock. They'll just be things.
I used to remember telling people when they go visit their loved one to use their eyes and look around the house. You don't want to see bathroom items in the kitchen items in the bathroom, for instance. You want to see what's in the garbage. You want to see that, do they have food? Do they know how to open that container? Yes, there's a whole bunch of canned soup, but they say they have no food in the house, and you open the cabinet and there's all this canned soup, but they don't realize that the soup's inside the can and they have to open it, and they may not even know how to open it anymore.
Yeah, that's way too many steps.
Way too many. And even making a sandwich is too many steps. It's
right.
I tell people, if you work, you make sure that make them a sandwich, and then you call them up and say, "Mom, go open the fridge," and she opens the fridge, and Mom, you're on the phone with her. So, you see the sandwich there? I need you to eat that now. I mean, you can't just say, "Go eat the sandwich I prepared for you. It's in the fridge." You have to actually, guide her through it all. It's not, you can't do what you do. Might not know how to open a banana. You hand them a banana, you assume they're going to peel it, and they just eat the whole thing, and they don't even understand what a banana anymore. I mean, it's not fun. It's not easy to go through.
The person with dementia may get lost driving. Actually, I don't think they should be driving, period. But that said, it's
Right.
a long time before that issue gets resolved. But they probably will have enough adrenaline that kicked in when they got lost, that even though they may not know where they are and they may not be able to get back, they'll know they were lost. And it can be a great opportunity for the family to sort of move along with the concept of not driving anymore. The person
Right.
with Alzheimer's, assuming they do make it back, if they're probably not going to be able to recount that story.
Right.
They might not be able to tell you that they were lost and the police found them and brought them home. That is part of short-term memory. And the person with Alzheimer's is a different pattern going forward, where there's less awareness, less communication that's meaningful. In other words, being able to correctly identify something that's going on. And this person with dementia, depending on where it levels off, like my dad had a stroke, he had dementia associated with it, but it bottomed out at a particular level and it didn't continue to decline. Alzheimer's is different. The Alzheimer's individual will not regain what they lose. The other thing, as I mentioned before, is someone with Alzheimer's is by definition unable to learn new things. So a family friend of mine wanted to upgrade the locks of her mom's home, made those changes with the obviously good intention of keeping her mom safer, but mom couldn't figure out how to use the locks, so she didn't use them, or potentially could have gotten locked out herself. So there was a really good intention there, but it couldn't be followed up with. You can buy them microwavable frozen dinners so they don't have to cook, but the ability to follow that direction's gone too.
Yeah. And I've seen it where the adult children has to actually call and remind them, and then I'll be on the phone with them and do it step by step. And it's not easy. They can't even follow the directions, and they shouldn't be living alone.
And over the phone,
taking away the keys is the hardest part. I will tell you that. And I've had families that would literally go and disconnect the battery. And so when the mom goes to use the car, she can't.
Yeah.
And or the car's been in the, and so then at that point in time you reconnect it real quick and get the car to the shop, and it's really at the adult child's house,
Right.
miles away, and it's still at the shop, mom, the car's still at the shop, and they don't, and you just have to keep going with that. But it's sometimes it's very difficult, but you have to do it because you're got to save your mom, but you could save another life too, because she could learn how to drive and run over a child, and then what are you going to do?
Yeah, driving is a deal breaker when I do presentations. Find a way. If you cannot or will not find an alternative location for your parent outside of the home and they hurt themselves, even though you don't want to have that happen, it is unfortunately a possibility if they're staying in their home, even with a lot of move-in care or step-in care. But not being proactive in getting those car keys or disconnecting that battery or finding a way that that parent of yours who shouldn't be driving isn't, that is on you if something happens. You as the child, adult child, that is a deal breaker, because a car that is not being driven properly is a lethal weapon looking for a place to stop.
Exactly. So we want to also talk about, at night, when they sundown and wander and leaving the house at weird hours, those are all parts of what type of dementia?
Yes, they are part of dementia, but they are a lot of part of Alzheimer's. So a little bit more so. It certainly can happen. The personality change is consistent with Alzheimer's as well. There are very, very few Alzheimer's individuals who don't experience a period of time when they are agitated, unruly, oppositional, which just compounds the frustration. It can happen with someone who doesn't have Alzheimer's, who has a dementia, but it is pretty prevalent with individuals with Alzheimer's specifically. So
yeah, because we want to make sure that they're not alone. And, especially at night is when it gets the scariest. If someone can't sleep and they start pacing around the house, that's when you have these women that go, like I've heard stories where they left the house in Maine in the middle of winter, in the middle of the night, and found down the street, and there's no shoes on their feet and there's snow everywhere and they're just walking around.
My mom got out of her locked assisted living facility because when the alarm went off for the doors, it was not reset as it was supposed to. So they escorted her away from the door, but about 20 minutes, 40 minutes later, she went back, pushed on the doors again, and this time the alarm didn't go off. So she got outside on a Michigan night, 25 degrees, roughly 5 hours before she was found, obviously severely hypothermic.
Right.
The story behind it, and again, I'm relying, or the staff are relying on someone who clearly has Alzheimer's.
Right.
Nonetheless, we believe that she thought that her mom lived across the street. And my mother was determined to help her mother. So it was a very disconnected, but nevertheless sort of positive motivation. If we ever have a way of sorting out that this is what drove her to leave. But she nearly died.
Yeah, well, I mean, it happens all the time. And that's one of the reasons why a friend of mine, Jonathan McCoy, created family care spaces and a load management system for senior living communities, because it's state of the art. Where someone is, and the staff has warnings.
Right. Backyard electronics is awesome.
Yeah. And I know that when I first moved to Florida, there was a community in South Florida that the mag locks were broken. So, and it was going to be a week before they could be fixed. So they told the staff, you got to watch the exit doors because we're not really in a secured environment this week.
Mm-hmm.
Not one, not two, but 3 residents went to that door, opened it up, went down the back hallway, which no resident should ever be in anyway, opened the pool room door, got into the pool and drowned. 3 of them in less than the course of a week. If that community had family care space, there would have been probably 4 alerts before they even hit the pool.
Sure.
And if staff could not, get to them within 4 alerts, that's pretty sad. But
yeah,
so family care space, I think, is going to revolutionize the elopement, especially, because if you put the don't reset the alarm, it doesn't go off, and you don't know someone's gone for 5 hours. That's pretty bad.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, they were fired.
Yeah, I'm sure they were.
The loss, I mean, she was, don't get me wrong, my mother was not in great health at that time. She had been, but the compromise to her whole thoracic system, cardiothoracic system, was significant enough that there was a surgery and a procedure as a result of that prolonged exposure to severe cold. And she couldn't rebound from that.
There's a lot of things that seniors can't rebound from. You can get dehydrated and malnourished in as little as 24 hours. There's a whole bunch of stuff. We could talk forever. But I'm so glad that you came on again today, and I can't wait to have you on again. So thanks again, Elaine, for coming on.
Wonderful.
Yeah, once again, this is Aging Maven Aficionado, Amy K. Gaskin, and this episode of Ask Amy About Aging. We're talking to Elaine, certified dementia practitioner. So thanks again, Elaine, and I do hope you come on again.
Love to. Thank you.
Have a great day.